Because I think through my life, I had definitely signs of depression, but I didn't realize it. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know really what depression was. And
Yeah.
even when I did hear it at the time, it was like I always felt like it needed to be the extreme. So if I wasn't cutting myself or
Mm-hmm.
ready to commit suicide, then I was fine. You know what I
Right.
mean? I was just going through whatever and get over. I didn't understand really what signs there was of depression
Yeah.
at the time. But I think now looking back, I've had signs for quite a long time, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was to that extreme.
Okay. And that's, true for a lot of people, especially when they're younger. They don't really know what it is they're feeling. They just know they're not feeling
The best.
the best.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't really necessarily know what that means or put a name on it. And then, you kind of just, that becomes your norm for such a long time,
Right.
you know.
Because I was around um, people when I was younger, friends even, that they would cut themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and that to me was, I guess I related that to the problem. Like, if not even using depression as a word, but if there was something bad enough wrong, I would be there, and I'm not. So you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like just relating to if I'm
Right.
going through something that is that bad, I would get there, but I'm not there, so I must be
I must be okay.
okay. Right?
Yeah. When really you weren't.
I was not.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's happened since we last met, and we'll see if there's any kind of correlation between what's going on currently and what may have kind of happened
My
in the
mom
past.
said something that it was slightly triggering.
Okay.
Um, Actually, a couple things to be honest. Like that, the weekend we spent together, it was me, it was my grandma, my daughter, my sister, my mom, and my cousin, my little cousin. We had what we call our girls' day. This one just happened to be through the course of the weekend because they stayed the night with us.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna get well. My mom, we were out, and typically my daughter gravitates to my mom. Like whenever she's around, she's always all up under her, giving her hugs, wanting to hold her hand. So I'm not even there anymore. Like
Oh.
I'm not there. She goes straight to my mom
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10.
Okay.
Sometimes it's like that with my sister. So again, I'm not there. She'll gravitate to my sister. She just loves being around her. So she just, I guess, whatever she's in the mood for,
Mm-hmm.
that's what she'll gravitate to more. So this particular time, she was gravitating more towards my sister, and my mom kept kept saying things like, "Oh, she's pretty much like choosing her over me," or just saying things that was like, you realize she's 8, right? Like she's around you. When she has her time with you, Nikki's not. Her name is Nicole.
Okay.
She's not. I don't want to say a thing, but when she gravitates towards you, that's what it is. But now that she's doing that to my sister, it was like an issue for my mom, and the way she kept saying things like, um, she just kept making like little snarky remarks about it, like, oh, she's being mean, or um, she's being different, or what are you talking about? Like you're not serious
Hmm.
right now. But she kept doing it. Like she kept saying things, and I remember we were getting out to go to the store, getting out of the car, go to a store, and Jordan went to go hold my mom's hand, and she pulled away from her. My mom pulled away from her. I was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna be your second choice. Go to Nikki." You're not serious. Don't ever do that again. Like to me,
And you
it
said
took.
that to your mom?
Yeah, like don't do that. Like she's trying to. Oh well, I don't want to be her second choice. Are you serious? Like stop doing that. And to
Right.
me, it brought me back to like I don't want you to put like I don't want her to have that rejection from you like I felt. Like that's what was going on in my mind. You made me
Ah.
feel rejected by certain things that you did. What you're not gonna do is put that on my daughter because
Right.
you want to be petty. It was really annoying. And eventually that was Saturday. Sunday, um, she was in the kitchen with my sister. I was in the dining room, so I could hear her talking. She kept saying like, um, I forget her words exactly, but she was saying something along the lines of like, um, basically like my same thing she had been saying, like my daughter was, being different towards her and, being rude or whatever. And I'm like, okay, can you stop saying that? She was like, oh, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking, I'm in here. Well, you're talking about Jordan. So yeah, I have an issue with that. Like, stop saying that. She's 8.
Yeah, was your daughter around when she was saying
No,
that?
I think she was in like her room
So
or
she didn't
something.
hear
She
any of
didn't
that.
hear that, but I
Okay.
was like, yo, you're not serious. Like, stop. It's not that deep. She was like, I'm allowed to feel how I want. She's, again, we're talking about an 8-year old.
Yeah.
Like, she's not being mean to you. She just happened to cling to my sister this time. Like,
Yeah.
I disappear when you guys are around. You don't see me crying about it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and it was just the fact of like she was serious. Like, it wasn't just like one little joke. Like, oh wait, you chose her over me. Just one little funny, like
Right.
light joke. She kept doing it through the whole weekend, making like little remarks about her. It's like, and then it's like to my sister, like, how is she supposed to feel that you're doing that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's not allowed to love on my sister. It has to always be about you.
So
You know
did
what I
your
mean?
daughter pick up on that?
Uh, Probably because I mean she literally pulled away from her when she tried to hold her hand when we got out the car, and she had heard things that my mom was saying about so when she went to, I guess she felt bad, so she went to go hold my grandma's hand. I mean, my mom's hand, and she pulled away from her, and that's why I was like, yo, don't do that, like because you want to
Yeah.
be petty to a 8-year old,
Yeah. And
like
was your sister aware what was going on at the
yeah, oh
time?
yeah.
And what did she have to
She
say?
didn't say it, but she kept shaking her head. Like she would look at me and shake her head, or look at my grandma and shake her head, or like
What did your grandmom have to say?
my grandma was just like she knew that I was getting frustrated, especially when she was in the kitchen, and I was like, "Yo, stop saying that! Like,
Yeah.
you keep making these remarks. Oh, I'm allowed to feel how I want to feel. You can, but like,
But don't express it in front of your child.
yeah,
Or
because you're
you know what I
doing
mean?
you're doing too much at
Or
this
maybe
point.
just have a conversation with you, like, "Hey, what's going on with her? Why did she keep doing that?"
But she's not even doing anything wrong. You know what I mean?
Right,
I can see
right.
if she was being mean to my mom. She's not being mean. She's just gravitating towards my sister this
Yeah.
time. Like, and it's just like it doesn't always have to be about you. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
always her MO. Like, if it's not about her, she has to make it about her. And it's like, again, we're talking about an 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
She changes like all the time.
Yeah.
It's fine if she, maybe next time it maybe she ignores both you guys and she gravitates towards my grandma, or
Mm-hmm.
she wants to be all over me, and you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
she gets in her mode. It's fine. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
She wasn't being mean to my mom, and it was just frustrating that my mom was like taking it like, oh, why is she being different? Why is she all over Nikki and not all over me? She wasn't ignoring you. She was talking to you. She was playing with you, making jokes. But when it came to holding hands, needing to cross the street, she
Mm-hmm.
was on Nikki. She wanted to sit next to hers. You know what I mean? It's not anything.
Yeah.
It was just frustrating because I didn't want how my mom made me feel growing up to be now put on my daughter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just because she is feeling however she wants to feel.
Yeah, and you had just said, I don't want her, your daughter, to
Mm-hmm.
feel the rejection you felt.
Right.
Yeah, because you know what that felt
I
like.
know what that feels like. And I'm like, what you're not gonna do is put that on her.
Yeah.
Like, no, it stops here.
So, what do you think your mom's real issue is?
Herself.
What do you think it is about her?
I feel like it's a list of things. Like the same issues that some of the same issues, a lot of the same issues that I've had, she has. But the difference is I'm trying to attack those things so I don't have to sit in that, and she would rather act like they're not there and proceed through life. That's the difference. So the insecurity, she has it.
Yeah.
I had it, but the difference is I want to do something about it. The low self esteem, me, her, same thing. You know what I mean? Like it's not anything that I don't know because I've dealt with a lot of the same stuff that she has issues with. But at the same time, like to act like it doesn't exist or it's not there isn't gonna make it go away. And that's where she is.
Yeah.
Versus me, I want to do something about it. I don't want to be I don't want to put on other people what I'm struggling with, because I'm struggling with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like she's, because she doesn't want to do any hard work or digging into herself, she'll rather act like it doesn't exist, and that's what the problem is.
Okay. So having a conversation with mom is probably not going to make much of a difference.
Absolutely not. Like if it's something that she doesn't want to hear, she will shut it down immediately.
Yeah.
Shut it down. Every time.
Is this the first time she's ever been that way with your daughter?
To that extent, yes. Okay. She does little annoying stuff sometimes, but to that extent, I was so annoyed because it was through the whole weekend.
Yeah.
You know, I was like 1 or 2 times playing around, like, dang, like, what happened to my love? You know what I mean? Just playing around.
Yeah.
You know, but no, the whole weekend, and she was like serious, and I'm like, you're not serious. Like, you can't be serious. She was so serious, and she kept saying little things, and I'm like, please stop. And it wasn't a secret. Like, she was saying it in front of all of us.
Yeah. So I wonder where her insecurities come from, your mom, for her to feel that way.
I mean,
or why she would take that so personally.
We have similarities as far as, like, I mean, she knew her dad, but he kind of got ripped out of her life when she was younger, and then my dad came into the picture, and it was just like, you know, I don't know. I mean, I can't really speak. I could just say from what I see from the outside is maybe she dealt with some rejection herself, because I know she has tendencies of wanting to feel loved from other people.
Okay.
And I think that's what comes with her, you know, wanting to make everything about herself. Again, I'm not sure. We don't talk about this, obviously, but this is just my perspective and what I can try to make sense of.
Okay.
What she's dealing with.
Yeah, we never really know, but sometimes it's good to kind of just question it. Like, I want, you know, like, why is she being this way, and you know, why would she act this way? And we may not necessarily know, but at the end of the day, it's not, you know, it's not right. It's something that you weren't comfortable with, and you did kind of tell her that in the moment. So, you know, if it were something where it continues or it escalates, like each time that you and her get together with the kid, you know, with your daughter or other people, and you start to see this again, then yeah, you're gonna have to, like, probably pull her aside and say, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, right.
You can't talk to her that way, because that's not fair to your daughter. And especially your daughter's old enough that she can pick up on those things.
Right.
You know, she's going to be able to say, why is Grandma acting like that? Or why
that's why what she was thinking, like,
or, you know, did I do something wrong? And she's going to think she's done something wrong.
Which is probably why when she got out of the car, she went straight to her instead of Nikki. She's been going with Nikki the whole time.
Yeah.
But then hearing my mom repeatedly say things like that, she was like, okay, maybe I should just hold her hand. But then when she tried to, and my mom pulled away, I'm like, okay, now, come on.
Yeah.
Like, come on, don't do that.
It's one thing if an 8-year-old does that, like, acts like that, you know, because they're 8.
Right.
But you wouldn't expect that from, you know, from your own mom.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was one. And the second one, I forget, I said something. I don't know if I said it, like, generally, or if I said it to Jordan or about Jordan, but my mom was like, and you still treat Jordan like a baby. And it triggered me a little bit. My grandma had told me, when I told her that how I felt about, you know, the mom that I was when Jordan was a baby, she mentioned that that's probably why I still treat Jordan how I do, because I'm trying to, I guess, regain time, or I forget how she phrased it.
Lost time?
Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah, and I was like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. So when my mom said that, typically if it would have been really anybody else, I probably would have told them how I felt, as a mom when Jordan was first born or when she was a baby. But I was like, no, because the way my mom delivered it, one, she would just feel like it's an excuse, which would piss me off. And she just wouldn't understand. You know what I mean? Like, but also, I told her, I was like, you still kind of treat me like a baby. Like, you get mad that I call her mother, and she gets mad because I don't call her
really?
mommy anymore. I literally have been calling her mommy for 29 years. I'm like, I'm 30 now. Like, we can cut the mommy. Like, this is getting kind of old.
Okay.
And she was like, no, call me ma. Like, playing around kind of, but serious at the same time.
Okay.
And we talked one day before she went to work, and she was telling me to call her mommy. I was like, I'm not. Like, I'm call you mother, mom, Dukes, whatever. I'm not. Come on, we got to get out of this. Like, I'm 30 years old now.
Yeah.
And eventually, she was just like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna have a bad day at work now because you're not gonna call me mommy. Okay.
And she was serious.
Yeah, she was serious. Like,
Maybe
okay, have a good day.
Joking.
Like,
yeah.
just okay, try to have a good day. But I mentioned that when she said I treated Jordan like a baby. I was like, I'm 30 years old and you're still telling me to call you mommy. Like, you could have some compassion a little bit. You know what I mean? But just that triggered me because I know I couldn't have said how I was when Jordan was a baby, just because she wouldn't have heard it. It to her it just would have been like, oh, it wasn't that deep, or that's just an excuse for why you want to treat her like a baby, or I don't know. I feel like me explaining where I was, her response would have irritated me. So I was like, I'm not even gonna go there.
She may not have been in a place to hear it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which may have caused, more problems between the two of you.
Right. Which is crazy because I was living with her at that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, I was very, very limited on what I could do for Jordan financially, what I could do for her mentally, emotionally, like just period as a mom. And now where I am, I can do the things that I want. So it's like I probably overdo it sometimes, but you know what I mean? I feel like I not have to, but I want to. You know what I mean? Because when she was younger, I couldn't.
Right, which is understandable, and I think a lot of people, will go through something similar. If they weren't able to do something for their children, and then as they get older and they're, in a different place mentally and gained wisdom, maturity, and all, it's like, okay, now I can be there for my child in those ways that I wasn't able to be when I was younger, and we were, just navigating through that. But do you feel like you treat your daughter like a baby?
I feel like sometimes, probably, yeah.
Okay, in what ways? Or how?
I probably just stopped picking her up like a few months ago, and that's because she's as big as I am, and I literally can't anymore.
Okay. So in that situation, is your mom wrong?
That I treated like a baby? To a degree, no. I feel like I do, and then I feel like I don't. Like, certain things, I feel like I'm probably babying her a little bit more than I should. And then other things, it's like I'm trying to get her to grow up a little. Not grow up, but do things for herself and not have to rely on me for everything. So I feel like I don't really know. I don't really know where that split is, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, like, I don't really know. Like, I couldn't say, like, okay, I still get her dressed, like she's a baby. Like, I still dress her, but then I make her own cereal. It's not that cut. Like, I don't really, like, I'm not really sure. Yeah. Just saying, like, I'm not sure really what things I do that is, like, treating her like a baby versus things that I do that kind of make her be a little bit more independent.
So your mom saying that, she's making a blanket statement, like, You treat her like a baby.
Right.
And maybe there are some situations that you do.
Yes.
Which maybe part of that was triggering because maybe mom was right. And we don't want to hear that, right?
She brought up that I asked her, because I do sometimes mention, like, oh, Pumpkin, I remember when you was in my tummy, blah, blah, blah. And Jordan, she gets annoyed sometimes when I say that. And sometimes I say it, like, genuinely, like, just reminiscing of that. Yeah. And then sometimes I say it to get on her nerves.
Yeah.
But my mom brought that up when she said that. She was like, you still tell her, like, you know, do you remember when she was in your tummy? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why I do that, but I do. Like, you know what I mean? I do kind of know why, but not really.
Why?
Just because I feel like maybe because I'm happy that I carried her full term.
Okay. Some women just enjoy pregnancy.
I
Now you're tearing up, so what just happened?
I enjoyed it, but I was scared through my pregnancy.
Okay.
Because I had previously had a miscarriage.
Okay.
So I feel like I couldn't enjoy it the way I wanted to because of that, and because.
You mean while you were pregnant with her?
While I was pregnant with Jordan, okay. Because like I wanted to enjoy it genuinely, but like I said, I was scared, and also because I knew in the back of my head what I was doing as far as her dad. You know, so between her biological dad and my ex, and not having the pregnancy experience that I had imagined when I would have a baby wasn't the case. It was a lot. So it was like, it was clouding the fact of me actually wanting to truly enjoy my pregnancy. But I did to an extent. But it was just, like I said, a lot of stuff that was clouding that, or, you know, keeping me from having the experience that I really wanted.
Okay.
But the fact that I carried her full term and she came out healthy and all that stuff, like, I'm really happy about that, because I didn't know, like, I never got an answer why I had my miscarriage before. It was just like, oh, these things happen. To me, it was like, okay, well, that's great. How am I supposed to protect, you know, keep it from happening again if you're not telling me what I did or what happened or what I didn't do? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So to me, it was just like, okay, you had this. We don't know why, it just happens. So now I'm pregnant again, and what if that thing just happens again because I couldn't prevent it or do something different because I don't know what I did in the first place. You know what I mean? So it was just, I was on edge a lot, and I was trying not to be on edge because I didn't want to stress myself into a miscarriage again.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was just a lot. It was a lot.
Okay. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
Just right there. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that one, you never got the answers as to why you had the miscarriage in the first place. Mm-hmm. And sadly, you know, many women don't get those answers, and you may never get that answer. And so I think when you got pregnant with your daughter, like you said, you weren't able to, you know, be excited about it and like enjoy it because, oh my gosh, what if something happens? I don't want to, you know, fully embrace this and be super excited, and then if there's another loss.
Right.
I think too, for some women, you know, they will think, oh my gosh, is there something that I did wrong? Like, was I stressed? Was I not eating right? Or, you know, because they're trying to find an answer. And, you know, of course you don't want to do those things, same things over again, right, if that was the case, which it wasn't, I'm sure. And not having specific answers and the unknown of that, and just, you know, what is this whole pregnancy thing going to be like, you know, all the way through 9 months having the baby. So I think you really cherish the fact that you were able to have your daughter, and she means a lot to you. And now you get the to be able to enjoy, you know, looking back at the pregnancy, because at the time you didn't get to enjoy it.
I didn't think
you
we
know.
were quite that way, but yeah.
Yeah, and other people may not understand that, and that's, you know, not for them to understand. But and you can probably help your daughter understand, like, you know, oh, we were so close then, you were in my belly, and I think some of it too might just be the fact that she is growing up, and so here's your little girl who you've, you know, taught her how to walk and talk and tie her shoes and ride a bike and all these fun things, and now, you know, it's like you kind of want to hold on to that a little bit because you're not ready to kind of just let her, you know, be this little Miss Independent, because you still want her to be your little girl, and you know, but at the same time you're wanting to teach her to be more independent, but you don't want to let go of the snuggles and the cuddles and all the, you know, cute stuff, and honestly, like, you know, as kids get older, you know, they're gonna have friends, and you know, they're not gonna want to be hanging out with mom as much, so like you're trying to preserve and take as much time with her while you have it. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting that, you know. And so, you know, if you look within and you say, okay, maybe I can see where maybe I am babying her a little too much, that is something that you can work on. And especially if your daughter's like, Mom, stop. Now, if you are still dressing her at 8 years old, yeah, that's a problem.
Right.
But not wanting her to grow up, I think, is normal. A lot of moms, you know, feel that way about their kids. They're like, no, I don't want you to grow up. You know, because you remember how it is for them to be little, and they depend on you, and it's, you know, it's that bond that you have with them. And then as they get older, it's like
you start breaking off.
Yes, exactly. You feel like they're breaking away, and you're like, no,
right.
You know, and especially after having already lost a child, you know what I mean? It just makes it that much more special. So do I think you're doing anything wrong? Absolutely not. But are there things that, you know, you can take a look at and say, okay, well, maybe I can make some changes here. And if you're doing those things, one, other people won't be pointing out and triggering you. And two, you can then stand up and say, you know what, I'm just trying to, you know, preserve this relationship with my daughter as long as I can, because I know someday she's going to grow up and she's not going to want to hang out with mommy like she does now, and, you know, or whatever that may look like. So, but I could see that you got really emotional.
Yeah.
And so I knew that that was coming from like a deeper place.
I'm not sure, like, I feel like sometimes I've connected the loss of my other child to Jordan, but not really. Like, not too, like, I think to the degree of me just being happy that Jordan, I carried her full term and she came out healthy. I think that may be like the line of where I connected to, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know, like, I don't know I don't know any deeper that I connected.
Okay.
I think, like, yeah, I think that may be it that I've thought about. It's just that, you know, I lost my previous baby. It was like 3 months, something like that. But carrying Jordan full term, I'm proud that she's here. I'm grateful that she's here. But I think that may be as deep as I, you know, compare or connect the two. I don't know.
So it's not a matter of, you know, this child would be this age. I missed out on all of these years with this child in that sense.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it would have been different, like, if I actually had the child and, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But since it was, I hadn't even found out the gender yet. Like, I literally would have been going for that appointment, like, that next week.
Yeah.
So I don't think of it as that. I've never thought that far into it.
Yeah. And for some people, it's a loss in the sense of, you know, I'll never have that, you know, child, and they're going to miss out on this, and I'm missing out on that, and it becomes like a loss for, you know, their entire life. And maybe not so for you, you know, like you said, that was a loss, but it didn't go any further than, once you have your daughter, it's like, okay, now I can have her and give her the life
Right.
and love that she needs, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So. But it's okay to have a bond with your child. It's okay
Yeah.
to love her and not want her to grow up, but
Still gotta
obviously,
let her grow up.
yeah, obviously you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you can look at, okay, what are the things that I'm doing that are helping her, and what are the things that I'm doing that might not be helping her.
Yeah. Yeah, I should probably do that, huh?
And it's not for me to say, to judge you as a parent. I'm sure you're a wonderful mom. You have, I'm sure, like, wonderful things, to say about your child. So obviously I don't have, like, any concerns in that. But I think any parent is going to look back and be like, could I be doing better?
Yeah.
And especially since you are in a much, much, much better place mentally, financially, independently, all of that from when, you first had her. So your relationship with her is going to be different than it was, because your relationship with yourself is different.
Right.
And it makes sense to want to go back and give her all the things that you maybe didn't give her, or the things that you didn't have.
Right.
And I think a lot of people do that,
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to overindulge and spoil? No, of course not. I mean, you can, but that might get you in the end. I don't know. But it's understandable, like, you are at a place now where you can give her more than what you were able to before.
Right.
And I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't know, maybe there's some jealousy from your mom seeing the close relationship that you do have with your daughter, and the bond that you have, because you and your mom didn't really have that, But, and the only reason I say that is not to be critical, and I could be completely wrong, but, if it's coming from that place, then it's understandable why but doesn't mean
I would understand that 100%.
Doesn't mean she should still be saying those things,
right.
About your daughter and to your daughter. But it might help you to understand, okay, this is where she's coming from, and then, be able to navigate through that in some way.
I could understand that 100%.
Yeah.
Because we butt heads a lot.
You and your mom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When I was younger, not so much now, just because I'm grown and she can't tell me what to do, but
yes.
when she could, definitely butt heads all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
But you're also, again, not only is your relationship with your daughter different now because you've changed, your relationship with your mom is also different now because you've changed. Regardless of whether or not she's changed, you're choosing to be in your mom's life, and you're choosing to navigate through that in whatever way feels comfortable for you. And like you said, you're an adult. She can't tell you what to do. And it's about redefining this relationship between adult, daughter, and mom versus daughter and mom. Because it is different.
It is different.
So your mom may just have to get used to the idea of, this is your life and this is how you are with your daughter. And,
yeah,
she has to be okay with that.
She don't have to be, but...
Well, no, she doesn't.
But she gotta respect whatever.
Yeah, I mean, to be in your life, to be, have a relationship with you and your daughter, she's gonna kind of have to...
get on board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even if she doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean... What do I have to say about that? I don't know how much further we need to necessarily go in that, but...
Well, as far as which part?
Just, the relationship with you and your mom, where it's at now, and versus the relationship that you and your daughter have. And even just you stepping out of the picture and your mom having a relationship with your daughter. Because they're all separate, relationships. And really just comes down to you setting the boundaries and your mom having to, like you said, respect those and be able to, so that everyone can get along and, But when you feel triggered by something, that's when you want to ask yourself, what is it about this situation that I'm feeling this way? Why did that just bother me the way that it did? And the answer may not come right away. It may be a day or two later, and you're like, oh, that might be why. Or you may have no idea, bring it up in therapy, and then it's like, you'll hear it, as you're talking, you might hear yourself and go, oh, now I see where it's coming from. Because when we're in our own situation, we don't see it from other perspectives, and then, of course, having somebody outside of it looking in can point out some things that you might not necessarily have thought of.
Like, I knew part of what she was saying was true, but I think it was more so her delivery too.
And that makes a difference.
You know what I mean? Like, her delivery, I'm just like cringing.
Yeah, because did you take that offensively?
Or how did you take it? I feel like a little bit, and I feel like, again, it was her delivery, not necessarily what she said, because my grandma has kind of mentioned the same thing to me, but her delivery was completely different, so I received it different. Versus my mom, it was kind of like a jab at me, which irritated me.
Okay.
Because I know my mom does stuff like that, and so I think so, yeah. Just because of how she delivered it.
Okay, so if your mom had said it in a different way, where you didn't feel it was a jab, would it still have triggered you? Do you think, or bothered you at all?
It might have. I don't know if triggered me, but I definitely would have been like, dang, like I really do need to, like, it's more than just one person or two people seeing this. So you know what I mean? So it would be more like, dang, I really do need to figure out where and how I'm treating her like a baby and change it. But I don't think my mom would really say it in a way of like trying to get me to understand and make the change. I feel like she would say it to irritate me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Just like the way she says things sometimes, it's like you want to irritate me. And
why do you think she wants to irritate you?
Maybe not with that mindset, but just because she's just is gonna say things how she's gonna say it and doesn't care about how it's taken.
Okay.
And I mean that may just be her personality, and it's different than mine. Everybody has different personalities as far as how they deliver things. Like, and not that she should be how I am, because again we're different people. But for me, when I'm saying something to someone, I'm thinking about how I'm saying it, because I want them to receive it how I want, for them to actually hear it and not be on the defense right away. Because if you're on the defense right away, you're not genuinely hearing my heart. You know what I mean? Versus my mom, I think she just says anything and you better take it how you're going to take it. It's like, I don't care how you take it. Deal with it type thing.
And if you can't change that about your mom, what can you do about those types of situations?
I was biting a hole through my tongue.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So you don't say anything in certain times?
I mean, I say certain things, like, but I keep it at a minimum. I don't say everything that's on my mind, because it's not gonna be a good day if I say everything that's on my mind. So I just bite a hole through my tongue, because it's like, okay, I know she's at a completely different space mentally than I am, so certain things that I even would say she still wouldn't get it. So it's just like, bite a hole through her tongue. She's not ready to hear it. So I'm like, just be quiet, let her feel great sometimes.
So where do you put that stuff? Where do you put it instead of addressing it with her? You just like lock it up, push it.
Probably
in the back somewhere.
Probably.
Of your mind.
Probably because I mean, there's probably a list of stuff that I could say to her, but she would probably grasp 2% of it, and that's a stretch.
But does that, or could that turn into resentments towards your mom and affect the relationship you and her have?
Yeah, probably. But I feel like it's always gonna boil back or go backwards toward my dad. It's always gonna end up back there. So even if it could start as her irritating me about the look of her plants, and it'll stuff will just start coming, you know what I mean, like just start coming out, and it's like she's not ready for that.
Yeah.
You know, she's not ready for that. It's just going to turn into an argument. She's going to shut me out, and we won't talk probably.
Okay.
You know.
So in those situations, you have to be the bigger person.
It's annoying.
And put it somewhere else. Put all of that somewhere else, and do that for the sake of the relationship with her.
It's just frustrating sometimes because it's like I don't always want to be the bigger person.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many situations where I'm kind of forced to be that bigger person, or forced to take the high road out instead of saying what I want to get something off of my chest. But now I have to carry the heavy weight on my chest and try to figure out what to do with it after that, because I can't really have an adult conversation. It's just frustrating.
And that's why I asked, where does that go?
Right.
Whether you journal it, whether you talk about it in therapy, whether you put it in a box and set it aside and say, I'm going to come back to that at some point, just not now.
Probably here.
Okay.
I mean, or sometimes I may mention certain things to my grandma, but probably majority between my grandma and you.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's like the person that I need to be doing that with, you know?
We've talked about, and you've done, writing a letter to dad. You can do the same thing to mom, just not necessarily give it to her.
Right.
Or, you know, in our future sessions, we can do some work where we can do, like, mom is sitting in that chair, and we can have a conversation with mom, just to help you to kind of process, like, what would I like to say, and how would she respond, and how do you feel after having said it, even though you can't actually say it to her. And maybe at some point in your life you could, maybe not now. Or I can play the role of mom, and we can kind of do the dialogue back and forth. So, I mean, that is something that we can do. Because ideally, yeah, wouldn't it be great in an ideal world if we could just sit down with people and be like, here's how I'm feeling, you know, and this is what I need from you. And they'd be like, sure, yeah, I can do that.
Right.
And all's well that ends well. It doesn't always work that way. You know, so sometimes we have to try other ways to let out some of that stuff, whether it's writing a letter just to process it, or, you know, and plus writing too helps to give you time to think about it. It helps you, because if you were to say it to her without having thought about it, it could come out very ugly.
Yeah, right.
Whereas if you have the time to write about it, these are the key points that I need to make, this is what's really bothering me, it gives you time to process that before even going in that direction. And I'm not suggesting you go and just be like, here's how I really feel, because that may not work well, and she may not be willing to hear it, and you may not necessarily have a relationship with your mom. And it sounds like you do want to have that relationship with her.
Right.
So those are just some options that I'm just kind of throwing out there.
I think that's a good idea.
You know, so if we want to, you know, start to, because I know we've worked with, you know, understanding the relationship between you and your dad, and getting some closure there, which that's going to be an ongoing process. Now we've got some issues with mom that are coming up that are kind of like, you can't ignore those. You can't put them aside as probably as easily. So if we want to start to work in that direction, maybe we can see where that takes us.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And then my last question is going to be, what would God tell you in this situation?
How to handle the situation with my mom?
With your mom, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay, just give that some thought, or ask him.
Yeah, I definitely think that I should take some time to write, like you said, write some key points down of things that I would like to say, and then try to bring those things out. You know.
Sounds like your next homework assignment.
Yeah. Yes.
So, is it? And I know it's important, but in this, at the end of this session now, are we looking at still talking to your mom about, like, your history of depression, just to understand more where you come from, and in addition to also writing about how you really feel? Like, do you feel like you can do both of those things, or do you feel like you have to do one over the other?
I can do both.
Okay. So, we're going to talk to your mom about her history of depression. Do you want to write that down?
Yes.